Life can often feel like a whirlwind of tasks with distractions and demands on our attention coming left, right and centre, often leading us to feel like we haven't got the time to get anything done.
Conflicting priorities. Children, work, career. Fitness indeed, health, social.
The list is endless.
Family demands. We have to make choices and we have to plan. And if we fail to do those things, then we just get caught up in this sort of...
Well, it's inertia, isn't it?
Well, inertia. You don't quite know, where do you put your time? Who are you going to give your time to? And then if you're making those decisions in the moment, often they're not necessarily the best decisions. You end up disappointing people, letting people down, feeling disappointed yourself because you haven't been that productive.
Feeling exhausted because you just feel like you're constantly racing against the ever-growing to-do list and never winning.
And you have all these amazing tools available to us that basically allow us to be busier.
Yeah.
But so there's got to be something more than just the tools. There's got to be something in our behaviour that helps one person have this sort of calmer, more serene existence of enjoying life and being able to get things done and be able to largely be able to satisfy most of their friends and other stakeholders, if you like. And some people just do not feel that way, just get totally caught up. So what
each day
is the difference? Now, I have to, I'm a self-confessed distractor and person that is easily distracted. So this is something that running my own business, I had to definitely get better at. As you well know, Lisa, we work together.
And likewise, I try and focus my activity in a fixed amount of time, well, not a fixed amount of time, but a 3-day week. And if I allow it to, it can easily expand. There's always more that can be done. So being disciplined and productive in the time that I allocate to work is really, really important. We're going to explore this.
We are going to explore how, this is largely in response to a lot of questions we get. People do our program, Power Up program, which is all about making better choices about your life and where you want to go and the things you want to do, aligning your beliefs, your mindset, etc. And once they get on track, that's having the plan and having the intention.
Yeah. Then
being able to execute against that intention is a different thing. And we get a lot of requests. People sort of say, well, I get easily distracted. I lose focus. I lose the discipline to keep doing what I know I should be doing. And that's not because they don't want to do it or they're even lazy. It's not to do with that. It's to do with how you organise yourself so that you can be productive.
The environment that we're living in at the moment, isn't really conducive to our productivity. There's so many things that are demanding our attention. And actually, the most valuable asset is human attention. People on Instagram and online are consistently trying to do things that are going to grab our attention and stop us focusing on maybe what we should be focusing on. So if the demands on our attention are ever increasing, then it makes sense to be really disciplined about how we organise ourselves and apply a discipline to what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, we all know the wonderful little devices we carry around in our pockets that keep us connected to the world, also keep us distracted from what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure you've watched the same kind of programs as I have, where the social media platforms are incredibly good at knowing how to keep your attention. And you might go for a little, 2-minute scroll that ends up being a 5-minute, ends up being a 10-minute, next minute it's like half an hour. Yeah. And they're very, very good at doing that because they know how to keep your attention. So, yes, there are many more, going back in time. You had the TV, which you had to sit down and in a room and switch it on.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I even have to be quite honest with you. Remember a time you had to get out of your seat to change the channel? You believe it?
No way.
What an inconvenience that was.
What, you had more than one channel
Literally
in those days?
But yeah, I mean, you think how easy it is. I mean, I've certainly watched mine and Fiona's kids, you know, sit there watching the TV with their iPhones, doing two things at exactly the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that with the girls, you know, revising for exams whilst watching Netflix. I mean,
whilst checking on their phone.
And checking on their phone,
yeah.
And they can't possibly do it. It's too quiet if they do it without those distractions. And it does make you wonder.
Well, all the science points to, you know, this idea of so-called multitasking doesn't actually necessarily stack up. And there's very good evidence to show that if you're trying to do more than one thing at one time, it doesn't allow you to be that productive. And
some of the things that used to protect our white space or time have actually been eroded by technology. And unless we intervene ourselves, then that is only going to get worse and worse.
Well, we're on 24/7, aren't we? Because we're contactable, people feel we should be contactable.
Yeah.
You know, there's instant messaging. Instant messaging is like a demand on your time instantly. And if you don't respond to that instant message, you know, somehow you're being rude if you don't do that. Now, there are certain people that don't abide to that. And I've got a couple of friends who are quite strict about it. And, you know, don't give a damn about responding to messages. But there is a sort of almost expectation that because we live in this sort of contactable society, then we should be contactable. And
you know, you're looking at there's two ticks there. That means it's actually, I've only just sort of really understood all of this. Two ticks, it means it's been delivered. Blue, they've read it. And as Daisy would say to me, you've been aired. You've been aired. If they don't respond immediately.
Goodness me. You might be listening to this thinking, is that real? In other words, people actually know when I've read my messages. Well, yes, they do. So be aware of that. I think we've definitely highlighted the issue, and I'm sure you, the listener, can identify as we can with the challenges and all these conflicts we have and the need to be as productive as we can, to have this more peaceful, harmonized life where we hopefully are serving all our various friends, our work balance, etc., etc. There are some things we can do. Yeah. We're going to look at the mechanics of productivity in this podcast, what we describe as productivity by nature, making use of some of the natural things that happen, the natural rhythm of life, and make use of that to make sure that we're as productive as we can. And then we're going to finish off, as always, with some practical strategies and tips to help us stay on track and make our days and weeks as productive as we can. And, you know, at the end of the day, Parkinson's law states that, you know, the task can always expand to the time available, but 20% of the activity actually achieves 80% of the results. So it's really important, you know, anybody can be busy, but are you busy doing the right things that are going to achieve the greatest results? And that is just so true, isn't it, that Parkinson's law? It really is. I know myself when I'm sitting there doing a task, if I don't have a deadline, it just continues on. Once I have a deadline, I've got to catch a plane. I've got to get a proposal out. Yeah. I've got another pressing appointment, and I'm looking ahead in my diary and I'm thinking, I literally do not have any other time to do this other than in the next hour. It's almost, and guess what? The compelling event. It just gets done. You pull it out of the bag somehow. Yet, when you have the time, when you have more time, you actually become less productive. Because in your mind, you're thinking to yourself, I can always do it later. I can always finish it off tomorrow. And therefore your mind drifts, you allow yourself the comfort of checking your phone, you know, getting distracted by something. Or you spend too long on something that is not going to really add value to the end product. As you said, the 80-20 rule of contribution, etc. So let's explore
you referred to earlier as the nature of productivity. And, I know that you've read the book When by Dan Pink. Do you want to talk a bit about the circadian rhythm?
Yeah, what he describes in there is the nature of us as individuals, and that some of us are larks and some of us are owls. And, we work more productively in the morning. Some people work more productively at night. But there's a natural flow, isn't there? When we get up in the morning, I know for me, when I get up in the morning, I'm feeling pretty fresh, providing I've gone to bed at a reasonable time, because that's another key thing we'll get to in a minute. But if I've gone to bed at a reasonable time and I'm getting up at roughly the same time, I feel really fresh and very alert. And that is when I can do my best work, my best creative work. So in his book called When, that's exactly what he's talking about, is certain times of the day, because of your own personal circadian rhythms, you will be more productive. A coach I worked with in the States, a guy called Craig Ballantyne, when I was working with him a couple of years ago, during COVID actually, he gave me this, he tasked me with what he describes as finding your magic time, which is essentially what Dan Pink is talking about. What's your magic time? Where's the piece of time where you feel you get into flow, you find it really easy, ideas come to you, whereas certain times of the day it just feels so painful, doesn't it? It's so difficult.
And so is it an actual biological thing or a preference?
It is. I think it is. It is a biological thing.
Yeah.
What he talks about is that when you generally, for most people, when they get up in the morning, their brain is fresh, it's alert, it's rested. It's done all its processing, etc. It's uncluttered, and therefore more complicated tasks generally get done faster. So if you had to do something that was particularly taxing, or you wanted to be super, really like creating something, a new blog or writing some new material, that's a good time of the day to do it. That sort of natural dip we often have around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, post lunch, etc. Maybe your blood sugar levels take a little bit of a dip. That's probably not the best time to do your most taxing work.
And I think we've all probably experienced a time where you're trying to get something done and you just keep trying to get it done, but it becomes really heavy lifting. And actually, it could be that you're not listening to your own natural rhythm, and it's the wrong type of work to be doing at that time.
Well, it's, like Mihai Csikszentmihalyi in his book called Flow, where he talks about getting into flow. He says that if you just keep trying to push through, then, you aren't necessarily, you're getting into a very, very tense state. Now, there's always a little bit of conflict, and there's a period of time before you get into flow where there is a little bit of struggle. But if that struggle continues and continues and continues, it just basically means that you're tired, right?
Yeah.
And that, it's like, I liken it to leaders running meetings, and they've got their agenda, and they say to the folks at the table, like, let's just push through. Let's just push through. Let's crank it through. And
so
actually,
ticking
what
the
happens?
Box of getting the agenda points done.
But you're not getting productive. You're not getting productive thought. You're not getting better. You're not getting high quality thinking. You're getting stuff done, but you're not getting it done. And actually, the quality of what you produce isn't that great.
No.
It's much, much better to have a short break and then come back to it. That physiological movement you have between those two tasks livens you up, gets you back in the game, and you'll be a lot more productive.
I mean, time and time again, I've been doing something like writing a proposal, and, you really want to just, I sort of think, right, I definitely want to get that done by this time. But, I'm just fighting against it. And we've had a conversation. Sometimes they take you hours, and sometimes you can do it literally in a very short space of time. But it's always, I have to say to myself, get up, move away from the proposal and change your physiology and come back to it. And it always always works.
Or like when we call each other, if you
Yeah.
get a bit stuck, you get into a stuck state, and then I know I can be sort of a bit stubborn, a bit bloody minded, and I'm thinking I don't want to be beaten by this. But actually, you're not in the right state, you're not in flow, and it's taking a lot longer. You might eventually get it done and go, oh, fantastic, I've got it done, but look how long it's taken you. And actually, it's not been particularly enjoyable.
Yeah.
So definitely the recommendation is to know what your natural circadian rhythms are. And I'm not professing to be an expert on this, and we can put Dan Pink's little diagram in the show notes so you can have a look at it yourself. And I would encourage you to read it and learn more. But back to what Craig was really challenging me to do, my coach, mentor, and he was saying, find out when your magic time is. When do you get into flow? When do you find it easy? I found certainly getting up a little bit earlier in the morning when there was peace and quiet, no disruptions, and actually to spend time then doing your most difficult task.
Yeah.
Don't do the easiest task because you're using up all that lovely fresh brain power on doing something which is just mundane, like doing emails. Get something, he talks about killing the morning, you kill the day. Get off to a great start.
They call it eat the frog or something. Eat the frog early in
That's
the
right,
day.
something like that, isn't it?
It sounds
Yeah.
disgusting.
That sounds horrendous.
But it's a little bit like
This is
Stephen...
cooked, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a bit of garlic.
Yeah.
Stephen Covey talks about the big rocks, doesn't he? And the temptation is... because we get a dopamine hit every time we tick something off of our to-do list, the temptation is to, get a few of those done first. But the big rock things, so what we're essentially saying is, tackle those things first thing, or when your own peak biological state.
Find out when your time is, when that works for you. Is it late at night? Is it early in the evening? I've always believed about work that because traditionally we go to work at a certain time and hours are set, and you arrive at 9, leave at 5 or whatever it is, 8 to 4 or whatever it might be. It's a kind of, I work for myself. We work for ourselves, so we've got the freedom to do what we want. And it does make sense that actually you find... when do you do your most productive work? Because if I would argue a lot of people are very highly unproductive at certain times of the day. So I don't really see time as a sort of fixed, I have to do this at this certain time. And I think work out when my most productive time is. And if I'm most productive, at 9 o'clock at night, and I can spend better quality time with my family earlier on, then that's what I'll do. And I guess,
as a leader of a team, you mentioned, team meeting, there's going to be various different preferences and different rhythms within your team. So to be flexible and offer that flexibility and look at the results rather than the activity and when it's taking place.
Look at the output. Look at the quality and look at the output rather than the hours that somebody actually works.
And obviously, post-pandemic, more people have had the opportunity to bring flexibility into the way they work. So with the opportunity to work more in line with their nature. So what sort of things can impact the circadian rhythm? So you mentioned sleep for you, as long as you've had a good night's sleep, then peak time is first thing in the morning.
Well, I think obviously, things like, eating too late into the night and your digestive system where it should be actually resting is actually working overtime. So you find yourself, waking up. If you find yourself, look, we're not meant to wake up tired. That's not the idea. If you're waking up in the morning feeling tired, that is not the plan. The idea is you go to bed, you get some sleep, and you wake up fresh and alert, feeling good, feeling full of energy. So if you're one of those people where you wake up every morning and you feel tired, I would suggest you look at what time you're going to bed. Maybe you're sleeping for too long.
Or maybe you're scrolling and you've got, too much blue light exposure before you go to sleep. Your brain can't fully rest because it's been exposed to stimulation.
I mean, one of the great revelations, like a lot of people who wear sort of fitness monitors, etc., I use an Oura ring, and it's very accurate on measuring sleep. Matthew Walker's behind it, etc. So, his famous book. And it gives you so much data, and you can actually see very, very clearly the impact of alcohol, eating too late, exercising too late in the day. All of these things impact the quality of your sleep. So quality of sleep is really essential to productivity because your body just hasn't had time to recover.
Yeah.
And giving your time self to recover, you wake up and you just feel like you've got lots of energy and you're ready for the day.
Yeah.
And therefore, guess what? Same amount of time, you're getting more done instantly. I mean, that is a massive, big win on the day just by going to bed at the right time.
And in his book as well, he talks to the power of consistency as well, doesn't he?
Very much so.
And it's actually honouring that natural rhythm, whether it's a Monday to Wednesday or the weekend. You know, that consistency.
He's really, really hot on that. And Andrew Huberman talks a lot about that as well.
Yeah.
And Andrew Huberman Lab. The importance of consistency. And that's one of the things I have disciplined myself to do, is one, to go to bed a bit earlier. I found the last sort of hour and a half of the day can be a little bit wasteful, watching some rubbish TV or just scrolling or whatever. And you think, well, what have I really done there? There's been no real benefit to me. I haven't really enjoyed. I'm not feeling great about it. So getting to bed an hour and a half or an hour earlier.
Leaving the phone downstairs.
Yep.
Put your charger downstairs. It's the best thing that I have done.
Yeah.
And even, when you're watching a movie or something like that, the danger is that you have your phone there, leave it outside, because otherwise you're constantly wondering what the hell's going on in the movie anyway.
Yes, my wife would have something to say about that, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, Neil Pasricha, we mentioned him before, Happiness Equation and other books he's done. He shows this picture of a vessel, it's like a sort of someone who's got a real serious addiction, right? He said you put it in this glass container, and it's got a timer on it.
Oh, what, your phone?
Yeah, you put your and the only way you can get it out is by smashing it. And they're like $300, right? So
unless you're desperate,
you've got to be really, really desperate. So that's one way of breaking the habit. It's a bit, but he just says, "Look, leave it."
That's an extreme version of changing the environment.
Yes, I know, but he definitely advocates leaving your phone out of reach. He asked the question actually: who here, when they wake up in the morning, their phone is within arm's length of them, and 90% of the hands go up. What's the first thing you do first thing in the morning? Check your email, check your phone. Well,
a lot of people have their alarm on their phone, so they have that excuse, but turn the alarm off leads to scrolling. And, Mel Robbins, she talks a lot about, do not press the snooze button immediately. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you get out of bed. And that change in physiology, you may feel tired when your eyes are open, but you won't feel tired once you've
within minutes
got out of bed and moved your body.
And as I said, I repeat again, if you are feeling tired after resting, that's the whole point of resting, then there's something to do with the quality of your sleep. And I cannot stress enough what a game changer this is.
Yeah.
Craig, I was telling you about earlier on, he's got some crazy disciplines. He actually goes to bed at 8 in the evening and gets up at 4. That is his discipline. When he first talked about it, I thought it was absolutely mad as a hatter. That is crazy. Then when I started to go, I was always used to go to bed at 11:30 or 12, sometimes later.
Yeah.
And when I started to go to bed at 10, I could immediately see the benefit of getting in bed at 10. It doesn't mean to say you're going to get, because time in bed doesn't mean time asleep, does it? So it's time is sleep is the key thing. Yeah. And often we will be awake for at least an hour of whatever period of time you're in bed. And so, getting to bed at 10 means you get to sleep maybe by 10:30 or so. And that's such a big difference. I started thinking, actually, 10 and 8 is not a lot of difference there. I can see why moving your day forward a bit, you can see how much more productive you can be. So this is a big thing. I know we're harping on about this quite a bit.
Yeah.
But you aren't going to be productive at any time during the day if you're tired.
Yeah.
And if you're getting extreme tiredness in the afternoon or at 11 o'clock or needing coffee to get through the entire day, one, it's not particularly healthy, and two, there's something not right about the way.
And there are small changes that you can make. We've already talked about, putting the phone arm's length or elsewhere, because otherwise the challenge is you are, again, filling that time when you should be asleep, actually, feeding yourself with more and more information, which doesn't allow you the full recovery, overnight. So
I think the thing to be, before we get into the more practical things around productivity, it's what we're really paying attention to here is your energy levels. And your energy levels are dependent on what you've done the day before. That's the fact. If you're all used up and you haven't had time to recover, then you are going to feel tired the day before. And if you do that repeatedly, it just gets worse and worse and worse. In fact, that then turns to stress.
Yeah.
Stress then means you can't sleep properly, and then you're in a vicious cycle.
Chronic inflammation and all of the other associated
and you start getting
illnesses.
Headaches, and therefore you can't sleep. You get irritable, you can't sleep.
It can impact every area of your life, can't it? Relationships, everything.
Nail the sleep.
Yeah.
Nail your rest and recovery times during the day. Take more breaks during the day so you get time to recover, time to rest your mind. When you finally get to bed, you don't want to be so absolutely drained of every ounce of energy. That means that you're going to bed, your body's not actually getting time to do what it should be doing and really repairing all your, cleaning your system, digestive system, etc. It's working on other things because it hasn't had time to recover.
Yeah. So don't focus on the clock. Focus on how you feel in your body and what your body needs. And when you pay attention to that, it does give you the signals, doesn't it? Quite loud and clear.
So that's a little bit about the nature of productivity. Let's start to look at some of the productivity hacks and things that you can do during the day to make sure that you're as productive as you can.
So one thing that I've seen recently, which I thought was quite good, you mentioned earlier about having enough time between activity or work and rest. There's something called the Pomodoro technique. And this was actually invented by a student, and he had a tomato-shaped clock, and he used to set that for 25-minute intervals. So he would do focused work for 25 minutes at a time, and that's actually a very efficient way of organising a focused task. So I thought it was something else, but actually when I read it, it was literally because the timer was tomato shape that it came and to be called the Pomodoro technique.
Oh, very nice, interesting.
So short sprints.
The mentor I had, Craig, he talked about doing sort of 40 minutes and then break, 40 minutes and then break.
Yeah.
And again, it makes you disciplined because you've only got 40 minutes for something. Then it does tend to sharpen your mind, back to what we were saying earlier about Parkinson's law.
Yeah.
So chunking your day up. In fact, just as an aside here, one of the singularly most painful tasks that my mentor Craig got me to do, he sent me a form where the day was split into 20-minute chunks. And he said, what I want you to do over the next week is have it beside you and keep completing it every 20 minutes.
What you're doing.
Exactly what you're doing and what you've been doing. I hated it. I absolutely hated.
You love a bit of detail, don't you?
I hated it. It was actually making me quite stressed. But what I was getting stressed about was not the exercise, but actually visibly seeing how much time I was wasting on things, or how much I got distracted by something, Or, for example, you're trying to do something on your computer, something doesn't quite work, and you think, oh, I'll just fix that, or I'll download an app, or oh, that's not quite working.
You love doing that, don't you? Getting into Google to try and find out how to fix something.
You get onto YouTube and you get distracted by another video. And this was like a real... And actually, when you see it in black and white, and I have challenged my clients to do this, and it is a painful task to do, but if you can take yourself through doing that, you will see where you are wasting time instantly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's staring you back in the face. What you think is taking up your time is not taking up your time. No. And you realise, actually, you got 2 hours of your day that is just spent on tasks you shouldn't be doing. Yeah. You just simply should not be doing.
But it's like you often speak about the £10 tasks, don't you? You know, don't do the things that other people can do and will probably do in half the time,
or willing to do, or if they're if it's a $20 an hour task, and you're an executive or a senior manager.
You might think it's quicker and easier, but over time, those things add up. And before you know it, you've lost half your day.
And there's someone else, as you said, who are better at it, would enjoy doing it, and is saving you a lot more time.
I mean, one of my... the most productive days I have is it's usually actually when I have a lot of stuff that I need to get done. But what I tend to do is, I will plan what that day is going to look like the night before. And I will actually time box. So I will, if I've got a proposal to write, I'll say, right, that will be done by 11 o'clock in the morning, for example. The next task will be done, and obviously building in breaks and that sort of thing, but actually being quite disciplined in how I plan the day. And then, when you get to the end of it, and each time you obviously get the little dopamine hit of ticking something off. And obviously there's things that can distract throughout the day, but having that plan means that you don't have to think, right, what have I got to do next? What else have I got to do? It's actually all written down.
Absolutely spot on. You are very, very good at that. I can vouch for that. And planning what I found was that getting to the end of the day and feeling pretty tired and looking forward to dinner or whatever it is, the last thing I want to do is start thinking about planning. And so it was a real challenge for me to do that. And I don't always do it, but when I do it and I clear the desk and I write my list out of things I'm going to do the next day, and as you say, time block things, what a difference that makes.
Yeah, and it allows you to enjoy your evening because you've already planned it. And actually, it allows you more restful sleep because you don't get those times when you wake up thinking, oh, yeah, I've got to do that thing. And you start having these random thoughts at 3 a.m. Your brain knows it's parked and is confident that you've got this,
Absolutely. And you're not starting off the day trying to, spending the first hour of the day trying to work out what you're going to do. I know by looking at my diary and looking at my plan, when I go to bed at night, I have a quick scan of it. And I think, right, okay, when I get up in the morning, it's like an instant. You're straight into it. You know what to do straight away. You're not faffing around trying to work out what you're going to do or what I'm supposed to be doing, and you haven't got stuff ready together to do it, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing to talk about here is, so we talked about planning the night before the day, right? The second thing is about routine.
Yeah.
And having routine and processes. Now, again, speaking for somebody who's not particularly lover of routine, again, another challenge for me, and I'm your classic sort of creative, let's try this, let's try that.
What's your nickname?
I'm not even, you mean, Captain Chaos, you mean, that's right.
Captain Chaos.
Captain Chaos, yeah. Doing a podcast on how to be highly productive. Well, you see, it's self-confessed, and I know these techniques work.
I know, but in combination, we're all right.
Yeah, in combination.
It cancels.
But they have actually made a difference, and that's how I know they work.
Yeah.
So this idea of routine, I'll give you an example here. If I want to go to the gym and I have an hour, I'm going to go and do if I don't have my routine, I spend so much time trying to think about what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
and so much thinking time going, oh, shall I go and do that? Or shall I do this? But once I've got my plan and my routine, I get in there and I just get it done. And you get so much more. You're not went from one machine or weights or free weights or whatever, or running machine, whatever it might be. But you've got it planned out. You know exactly how. It's like military precision. And it feels great because you feel productive. You get everything done. You get in, you get out. It's much more enjoyable. But if I'm faffing around trying to think about what weight machine or what goes before, what goes after, or what shall I do, or what's the exercise, or looking them up on YouTube whilst I'm in the gym.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the Steve Jobs thing about his jumpers. He always sort of about wearing...
Yeah.
You know, why does he wear the same jumper? Because he doesn't have to think about it.
Well, I was there with my niece who works in... Well, she just moved down to London this weekend. And we were talking, I said, you know, is it a dress down office? And she said, yeah, it is. But, you know, I just have my 7 work outfits. And then she rotates them. I was thinking, I've been in the working world for 30 odd years. And why did I never think of that?
It's because we have too many choices. If you remove the choices and you limit the choices, your brain's not taking up unnecessary time trying to work things through. So limit the choices and get more done.
Yeah, so focus on the things you will do and be clear on the things you will not do, because Parkinson's law, we can always fill the time. You know, the task will expand to fill the time. So I think, you know, another thing is the art of decluttering. And, you know, that takes 2 forms. First of all, decluttering your time. So, you know, like you were saying, not doing the tasks that maybe other people can do. And also, you know, time boxing when you're going to be answering emails and doing some of those sorts of tasks, which, you know, potentially could be later on in the afternoon. But I think as well, decluttering your space. I cannot think straight if my desk is messy. You know, I cannot actually think straight if my house is messy either. I'm a little bit OCD. But if my desk is messy, I literally can't, if there's no order in my desk and everything's on top of each other and I can't find the papers that I want, there is no way that I'm going to be productive in my day. So decluttering your diary and your time, but also decluttering the space that you're actually operating in as well. Really important.
Yeah, it feels so much better as well, doesn't it, when it's clear and you've only got the things you need for the particular task.
Yeah.
I know we might be sounding a little bit anal here, but these are the things that actually do make a
it really does make a difference. Yeah.
I mean, as a silly little one, I created this file for things I want to remember.
Yeah.
Or actually, the negative would be things I regularly forget.
Yeah.
So whether it be where something is filed.
Is that where your passwords are?
Right. Whether it's something where I filed something or name of something. You know, when you think, when you say, I always forget that.
Yeah.
And then we start running around trying to find it. So it's a simple little thing I keep on the top of my little filing cabinet next to me on my desk. And I've just got things I need to remember. And honestly, I've got into the discipline.
Is that the best thing you've...
It is, honestly, it's made such a difference.
Things like that.
You know, whether it's, I don't know, VAT number or national insurance number or whatever it might be, or the name of a cab company or whatever.
Yeah.
But if those are things you have to regularly remember that you forget, because I started getting so angry with myself, spending so much time looking for things that I need.
I totally agree with
really
that.
wound up about it, thinking, why am I doing this? And I think, right, I am going to write, I'm going to have it in a file. And I've literally got it. Things I know, I've got it in a little folder under there, plastic folder, and things I need to remember.
Yeah. I think another thing which is in line with that, you know, we have a shared file system, Google Drive. And it's when you're busy, it's really easy to, you know, you just sort of think, oh, I'll just save that thing, make sure it's saved, you know, so then I'm not going to lose it. But sometimes trying to find those things again is really difficult. So I think that having a disciplined, organised filing system, whether it be physical or digital, and reviewing that and decluttering that on a regular basis is also really important.
That is a huge one, I think. because we went through a period of time, didn't we, in our business of spending an inordinate amount of time trying to find things and not having a disciplined filing system, and that has made a big difference. So I totally support that 100%. And talking about digital tools, etc., I know it's a simple thing here. I've never been particularly quick at typing. I'm definitely, because I'm a speaker and I do my thinking out loud, and I'm an expressive, so I do my best thinking when I'm speaking out loud. I found that, dictation is an absolute game changer for me. And if I'm writing a script or a blog or an email, I'll just stick on dictate and blurt the stuff out.
Yeah.
And I get so many more words down so much faster. Then I do a little bit of editing, and I can write much better emails that are more informative and actually serve as an aid memoir for me as well.
Yeah.
So,
and it's so much more natural for you to do that, and the end product is so much better than if you've had to toil and try and do that.
I started using that during the pandemic, when we were doing a lot of marketing, and we were doing a lot of marketing scripts and videos, etc., and a lot more output of outreach marketing material and collateral.
What's the tool called that you...
Well, it's just there's a dictation tool on, most Word will have dictation on it. You just press the button and off you go, or an email.
Voice texts as well. But actually, we haven't done that for a while.
No.
But those are always really good because quite often we will be walking independently. So I go for a walk in the morning. That's part of my morning routine. Another top tip for productivity. And I do a lot of thinking, obviously, when I'm walking along, and being able to record voice notes either to myself or sending, each other messages actually is a really efficient way of communicating.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah. So don't spend endless time thinking you need to type everything out unless you're super, super fast. My experience is I can get a lot more done by, dictating it.
So talking of technology, there is a plethora of digital tools that are out there now, and particularly with the interest in AI, there is literally a tool for absolutely everything. Be more productive, save time, save so much of your time with these automatic scheduling tools.
Oh, yes, that's right,
project management tools. There's literally a tool for everything. But there is actually a term now called productivity porn, where people just have so many tools, but they don't actually use any of them.
No.
And we have done that in the past.
Oh, we have actually, yes.
We've tried using various different tools, and actually none of them quite stick. So I think another tip is to actually, find the one or two tools that
productivity
really
tools that
work for you.
Organisation tools
and
like
stick
Asana.
to them and be consistent and really to be disciplined in using them.
And just we had too many, didn't we? So we cut away a number of them. I think we use Asana as a sort of way of communicating tasks, etc., to each other.
Yeah.
The other my favourite piece of technology that I've bought for myself in the last couple of years is the Remarkable Pad. And I for some time wanted to move away from. I always used to have these little A4 moleskin books when you fill out notes and you go to meetings, etc. And I'm a great note taker, but the challenge is trying to find where you've written this stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, it's all just written down as well. I tried this sort of Apple Pencil, Apple thing, but I never really particularly got on with it. And then I've been looking at the Remarkable tablet. Remarkable tablet here. Absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love this. And the pencil sticks on the side. And it's got a fantastic...
So you write your notes on there, and then it's a filing system.
Every single meeting I have... I really try and avoid using paper. Yeah. It feels like you're writing on paper. That's what I love about it. That's why it's called Remarkable.
See, that I love. I have a book. I love writing on paper. So that would, if that feels like paper, that would work.
It really does. I mean, and on it, and you just write. So handwriting, you've got calligraphy pen, all sorts of different, and you can turn it to text, and you can email it to yourself, and you can access any of the notes on here on any device you've got.
Yeah.
So anyone I've met who's got one of these, they've said it's brilliant.
It's
Every
funny
single
because
person.
that seems, well, that's the one I certainly see advertised a lot. You know, I mean, I think there are other tools, but that seems to be the one that works for most people.
Well, I think the beauty of this is no distractions.
Yeah.
There's
nothing else.
You're not getting a social media popping up
Yeah.
in the corner or
Yeah.
emails popping up in the corner. It's purely for writing and taking notes. So it's got a fantastic filing system. You click on the filing system, look for your client. There might be multiple meetings with multiple different clients within the same client. It's so easy to find. You jump straight back into it, and a big improvement for me. Because what I end up doing is trying to find. I used to have pieces of like these folders, boxes with folders in.
I mean, you used to use individual bits of paper.
Yeah. Good God forbid, bits of paper in a folder, filed somewhere, in a pile somewhere. Oh, my goodness me. So,
huge time saver. Not an ad, I should say. Not an ad, just something that you've used that's worked particularly well.
And by anybody running a business, particularly if you've got a relatively small business, one of the things that I found was counterproductive was trying to work out technical solutions when things went wrong. I think we mentioned it before, going onto YouTube and trying to work out how to fix. We have a 24/7 tech support, local company. Call them up anytime. Remote viewer, whatever it's called. I forget what it's called. Team viewer, I think it's called, isn't it? Straight into your computer. And within 5
remote
minutes.
Access.
Sorry?
They can get
like a remote access. They just
yeah.
jump straight into your computer, and within 10 or 15 minutes, it's all working again.
Yeah.
What a game changer again.
I guess the point is, if there are things that are taking your focus away from what you should be doing, running your business or whatever, find someone to do those things for you, and IT support being a very good example.
Anything that somebody could be doing better, that is not going to cost you an absolute fortune. You don't have to necessarily employ the person to do it. The world's full of fantastic virtual assistants where you can get incredibly good value. They're very, very dedicated, and they're very, very good and very, very efficient. I use, my PA, brilliant Alison. We've probably worked together for, I'd say probably, better get this right now, hadn't I? 5 years? I don't know. Is it 3, 4, 5? Let's go over, right?
Yeah, 6. Say 6.
6, right? And I think we've been in the same building probably no more than a half a dozen times. It works perfectly well. We've got all these cloud-based tools. It's brilliant. So and everyone's a winner. So it works incredibly well. One other thing for our business that we found particularly powerful, and we called it getting ahead of the curve. We found ourselves getting too close to the day when something had to be delivered and running around, and that's when mistakes get made. And I do a lot of work with professional services firm, namely, Deloitte. And one of the lessons I learned from them is that they're incredibly good at planning well in advance. They're so well organised and they're so well prepared. I thought, why don't I do that in my own business? Why wait until 2 weeks? Why not plan so you've got something done and ready almost like 3 weeks or 4 weeks before you need it?
It's just so much more relaxing. And I think even building on that, what we do, in a disciplined way, is planning the year as well, so that everybody on the team really understands what the priorities are. So then each person on the team is able to make decisions of their workload and the things that they need to focus on in the context of the wider plan.
That actually brings me on to another point, talking about planning ahead, and that is free time. When are you going to take your vacations? When are you going to take your holiday time with the family, breaks, etc.? And one of the things I've disciplined myself to do now is do that at the start of the year.
Yeah.
So, when your most productive opportunity costs are. Obviously, you don't want to be taking vacation at that particular time of the year. But outside of that, I know plenty of business owners in particular who don't take their time away. They're working really, really hard to earn money and then actually not enjoying themselves. And part of that is because they just, I haven't really allowed a time for it. Well, do that at the beginning of the year.
Or
what are you
they
doing
go on
it for?
holiday and they're on their phones. Or I think you saw somebody on holiday with their head under a towel or something on a
Head under
computer.
a towel on the beach so he could read his computer because the sun was too bright. And
I bet his wife and kids
wife was
loved
passing
that.
drinks underneath. I mean, what? I
I'll
felt
be
like
passing
ripping.
something underneath. It wouldn't be a drink,
No,
let
indeed.
me tell you.
I mean, I was actually getting quite irritated myself looking at it. Thinking, what are you doing? You've come all this way to spend time with your wife, family, etc., and
Yeah,
you're sat under a
that is
towel on
not-
the beach. Crazy.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely.
ridiculous.
But I think as well, planning in time for yourself day to day as well. I know for you, getting up and cracking on with work works well for you. For me, there's nothing better for me than getting up, and going out in nature and going on a long walk, because that sets me up really. I've got loads of thinking time. I've obviously got my to-do list, but I can think about the things I need to get done and start having ideas about some of those things whilst getting exercise and walking the dogs. Fantastic way for me to start the day. And if I don't do it then, it will not happen
not get done.
later on.
No, absolutely. Maybe a couple of other things. One is we've talked about journaling on other podcasts we've done, but having a place to record your thoughts when you have ideas. I, for one, would advocate not relying on memory. It feels so clear to you at the time, and you have this amazing idea and you think, that's a really great, I'll definitely remember that.
That always happens. I was telling you, I was in the car today and I hear a great thing on a podcast and I think I will remember it. I actually know that I won't remember it. So I had to pull over and actually scribble something down in order to remember it.
So have a place, whether it's, on your phone, a pad, a piece of paper, whatever, but have a place where those thoughts go. Just record them down, and then you can utilise them at a later stage. Or somebody gives you a tip on something. Have maybe a notes page on your phone where you go and put it in. I have lots of little notes pages of different things. So if someone recommends me a book, or even a film,
me too.
I will have a book recommendation. I'll often put their name next to it as well. I just put it in straight away. I don't rely on memory. I used to, and get very angry because I couldn't remember it.
All of these things enable your brain more space to focus on the things that are most important. If you clutter it up with all of this information, no matter how valuable at the time, it won't be able to access it in the future anyway, and it's only getting in the way of you focusing on the things that are important right now.
Another simple, important thing is the adage of doing it once and doing it well. When you're doing a task, if you feel yourself getting tired and you're not doing it particularly well and you think, I'll just do what I can do now. Honestly, it's just not very productive.
No.
And, you'll end up having to do 50% of it again. So either leave the task or give yourself a little check up from the neck up, have a word with yourself and say, right, I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to come back to this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it well. I'm not going to get sloppy.
Yeah.
And particularly, as you were saying earlier, the Parkinson's story, if you've got time, that is a real stealer of time because you will end up just drifting along, wasting time, happily getting distracted because you're not enjoying what you're doing. That is a real stealer of time. So do it once, do it well.
Yeah, and change, in that break, just change your physiology as well. It might be, if you're working at home, just go for a walk around the garden. Sometimes it's literally, a few minutes or something like that will make the biggest difference. Don't just necessarily go straight into another task because your brain needs time to rest and reset.
What we call fizzy breaks, now fizzy break, physiological break.
Not fizzy drink.
No,
break.
do not
have fizzy drinks.
Don't have fizzy drinks, no.
Fizzy water's all right.
And finally, I don't think we can finish this podcast without obviously mentioning augmented reality or AI, chat, GPT, etc. Used well, wow.
Yes.
I mean, everyone has experienced this, but I
just
do think
blows
there's
my
a bit of
mind.
discipline around using it. I know where I find it most useful if I'm writing something. I want the writing to be mine. I don't want someone else writing it for me. I want it to have my flavour. But sometimes what I do is I'll either use it, particularly in writing, to tighten up text. When I write something and say, please write this in a slightly tightened up, or tighten up this text to make it more succinct. I find that really, really useful. Or if I'm just looking for some initial ideas to get me started. Topic areas.
Yeah.
That is really powerful. It's like having a friend or an associate with you.
Yeah, if you were writing something on this topic, what were the sort of things that you would include?
Yeah.
It is perfect for
It's
that.
absolutely brilliant for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a big one for authenticity and feeling that sense of pride that actually you have generated the content, not just someone else's ideas. But that there is no question, mastering and learning how to use those AI tools and picking the ones that are going to work for you definitely will save you time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think we've covered so many different tips and ideas. I think the thing is to pick the one or two things that are going to make the biggest difference to you in your day, and then just apply them consistently. Be disciplined in applying them consistently, and record the difference that it makes, and then you can apply other things.
And let's help each other here.
Yeah.
I'm sure you, the listener, will be thinking, I've got a really good idea. It's a simple little hack I do, or I learned this little technique. Share it with us, share it with our community. We'd love to hear it, because there are many, many more things that we could have talked about in this podcast. And I'm sure there are many more ideas out there. It's one thing we're all striving for more than anything else at all, is quality of life. And quality of life is dependent upon how you spend your time.
Yeah.
And if all your time is used up on unproductive things, and we haven't even talked about time management.
No, that's for another podcast.
That's another, but specifically ways of managing your time and how you apportion time, etc. But that's the one thing we're all looking for, is the quality of life. To be able to lead a life of choice where we're choosing to spend a certain amount of time exercising, relaxing, time with the family, time with your work, but doing all of those tasks at times where you can give the very best of yourself.
Yeah.
Is your family or your loved ones getting the rest of you, or are they getting the best of you? I think that's a phrase that our friend Colin uses quite a lot.
Yeah, I like that.
So that's be there, be in the moment for every moment of the day, and show up with your best self for the people you were spending that time with.
As we said earlier, there's a simple power tool in the show notes. So feel free to download that, share that with your friends. And, we'd love to hear your ideas and the productivity hacks that you use.
I think it's going to be really exciting. I think we really could get some great ideas here from other people. And we will, continue to share those ideas out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our big wish for you is that you take some of these ideas and you use them for yourself, to give yourself that little bit of extra time back every day. I really believe you can get an hour and a half, 2 hours back every day by applying these ideas. Simple ideas. Really simple ideas. Until next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.